The courting is stately but seductive. A swaying walk entices the female away from the crowd. They may pose, motionless, or bow. If their ritual is interrupted, there's an imperious altercation. At the beginning of winter, the males are rippling fat and full of fight. As they pay court, their body clocks synchronize, and after a few days they will mate. Huddling conserves half of the body heat they'd otherwise lose. Each bird will take its turn acting as a windbreak before shuffling to the sheltered side. With most emperors paired and mated, the colony settles in autumn's brief and dusky midday. Near midwinter day, when darkness is constant, the camera crew sets out to retrace the pioneering journey to Crozier. Following the British tradition of exploration, Scott chose Navy men and talented civilians. Though not a trained scientist, Apsley Cherry Garrard was assistant zoologist. Scott chose him for his enthusiasm, intelligence and adaptability. He edited the accounts of what became known as the worst journey in the world. Lieutenant Birdie Bowers was named for his nose rather than any ornithological expertise. A stocky 28-year-old, Bowers never felt the cold. He was Scott's field equipment organizer, practical, cheerful, undefeatable. The Crozier leader, Edward Wilson, was Scott's right-hand man, a multi-talented Antarctic veteran, medical doctor, zoologist, and artist. Wilson captured the heroic age of Antarctic exploration in his art, as Cherry Garrard did in his writing.
The horror of the 19 days it took us to travel from Cape Evans to Cape Crozier would have to be re-experienced to be appreciated. And anyone would be a fool who went again.
No fools. The crew can cover in one day what took Wilson's team 3 weeks of hauling heavy sledges. But the same hazards still exist. Crevasses could swallow the vehicle as easily as a sledge. Each of Wilson's team fell into many crevasses. Their clothes froze to armor. Their sleeping bags froze. They suffered frostbite. Finally, at Crozier, they built a stone igloo.
Here, with the stove, which was to be fed with blubber from the penguins, we were to have a comfortable, warm home, whence we would make excursions to the rookery, perhaps 4 miles away.
The modern expedition has it easier, but not that easy. Between trips, blizzards block up the huts. The huts are shaken severely. One is shifted despite its double guy wires. The wind drives powdery snow through the cracks. The blizzard past, the camera crew sets out, full of the excitement of discovery and apprehension at venturing onto new sea ice.
Easy, not a problem. It's really solid all the way through too.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll hit the bottom and end up underneath.
Oh well.
It's like to go. Just drill it as we go out. Yeah.
Their predecessors fought through a chaos of pressure ridges.
We got into a cul-de-sac where we slithered about and blundered into crevasses.
Next day, they tried an easier route.
The penguin's call reached us, and we stood, 3 crystallized ragamuffins above the Emperor's home. After indescribable effort and hardship, we were witnessing a marvel of the natural world, and we were the first and only men who had ever done so. And we had but a moment to give.
The camera crew have little over an hour to film before the cold drives them back to the huts. Although it's midday, their only light source is battery-powered. Extreme care must be taken. Any disturbance during breeding could be disastrous. Using extremely low light levels, they record these unique pictures, observing that many of the females have already laid their eggs. With the egg hidden under a brood flap, they shuffle into the range of the light, but it takes several trips to the colony before the crew catch sight of their first egg. The single egg is taken up onto the female's feet and tucked under her bare brood flap. The Emperor's remarkable muscular control regulates the incubation warmth at more than 30 degrees Celsius. Compared to the size of the adult, this is the smallest egg of any bird. To strengthen their bond before the female leaves for 9 weeks, each pair performs a duet. The female is reluctant to give up the egg. The male is anxious to start incubating it. When they finally agree, it's a quick changeover. The males are now bound to an incredible vigil. The females must trek to the distant sea to feed. Wilson noted some males incubating frozen eggs or lumps of ice. Then his team quickly took 5 eggs, killed 3 penguins for their blubber stove, and headed for their igloo.
We on this journey were already beginning to think of death as a friend. As we groped our way back that night, sleepless, icy, and dog-tired in the dark and the wind and the drift, a crevasse seemed almost a friendly gift.
The camera crew are exhausted after another day of filming. Carrying heavy equipment, they must spend 3 hours on the ice in temperatures of minus 40 degrees.
Look at this, you guys. Wow. That's the egg we picked up. It's been abandoned, obviously. Yeah, it's been quite...
Back in their igloo, the pioneers had a day's rest and warm food.
Seems pretty weird, to think that it was 80 years ago, almost to the day, that, they were here.
Then a sudden and terrible storm struck.
It was blowing as though the world was having a fit of hysterics. The earth was torn in pieces.
Their tent blew away. and the igloo was destroyed. Facing death on an impossible march homewards, they huddled while the storm raged for 24 hours. They searched in vain, searched again, and found the tent miraculously intact.
Our lives had been taken away.